straight to the brim. Alright, yeah,
Welcome back to the YouTube channel, guys. It's Jay Ayyo. So as y'all can clearly see based on this title, a lot has changed. Now, for most of you who are new to the channel, welcome. For those who are returning, class is in session. So let's get right into it. So here at Jay Ayyo, we turn viral moments into lessons that we can learn, or teachable lessons, simply as put. So like I said, based on seeing the title here, DPP Paula Llewelyn has vacated her post, meaning, well, fired, put it that way. She's been fired, but she has stated that she's unable to do at this time. Now, based on all the different scenarios that have been happening in the news recently, this was inevitable. The situation with Vybz Kartel was the strand that broke the camel's back, and in this case it broke her back. So no pun intended, but let's see how we got here. So basically how we got here was that Paula Llewelyn has been the DPP for 16 years. She's been in the post from 2008. Over those years, she's tried many cases. She's won some, but in one particular instance, one case kept coming back around, and that was the Vybz Kartel, Adidja Palmer, and the other 3 individuals that have been tried with Vybz Kartel, which of recently their matter have been squashed. How does this relate to Paula Llewelyn? Well, Paula Llewelyn is at the center of all of this, down to mismanagement, ill advice, whatever you'd call it. She seems to have a lot of problems wherever she goes, and notwithstanding, she has issues with her staff in the DPP's office. Notably, there's an attrition rate in the DPP's office. They can't keep talent. Most have akin it to her leadership or lack thereof and inability. But basically what had happened was that Paula Llewelyn was born 1960. The Constitution of Jamaica states that when you reach the age of 60, you must vacate the post of DPP. Paula Llewelyn did was that she sought to get an extension. Now, when you're trying to change something in the Constitution being the highest law in the land, the act, or what one would say, it's the law that supersedes all law, she went to the Prime Minister seeking an extension. Now, she had passed the age of 60, so she is now seeking to get an extension. So in the Constitution, it says your age, when you reach 60, you must retire. So she went to the Prime Minister to get an extension. The Prime Minister gave an extension. He consulted the leader of the opposition, Mark Golding. The leader of the opposition, Mark Golding, was like, nope, I'm not in agreement with this. So notwithstanding that change had to come to Parliament. But what is even more important is that when you make changes to the Constitution, you have to get the people's vote. Now, Andrew Holness did not do this, so he did it to Parliament, because it's easier to do it in Parliament if you have the votes, as opposed to educating the general public about one simple matter. But the Constitution is a living, breathing document at the end of the day. So DPP Paula Llewelyn got the extension. When 63, so when she exceeded the 60-year mark, the extension was only for 3 years. So she should have left her office, demitted office, in September 2023. Did Paula Llewelyn do that? No. She went for another extension. The Prime Minister at this time said no, we're not going to give you the extension. So the Governor General, despite the fact that the Prime Minister said that he did not, was going to assent to an extension, the Governor General assented to it. So she was then able to do and continue the work as a DPP. Where it gets even more interesting is that this issue came to Parliament either sometime this year or last year, and the Parliament, the PNP, which is the opposition party, said no. The JLP, who is the leading party, who has the most votes, said okay, let's do this, let's get it done. What the interesting thing is to note is that DPP Paula Llewelyn KC applied to the Public Service Commission asking for another extension, and they said no, you cannot get an extension, because the reality is when you get an extension, it's not something that you use recurrently or you keep doing. In the case as the learned DPP, former DPP Paula Llewelyn KC was trying to do. So in actuality, what the DPP was trying to do was trying to see how long she could stay in the post without it being an issue. And the reality is, when she kept doing that, in essence, she was acting either in what terms would say she was just doing things which weren't right. She's not supposed to do that. So when this matter went to the Parliament, they were saying, oh, extend it to 70. My issue with that is, so if everybody who comes into the post say, oh, extend it, you're gonna extend it. You've been in the post for 16 years. Give somebody else a chance. Give another person a try. It's not only you, former DPP, that can do everything and you're the best and whatever. And the one case that really has sunk her is the case with Vybz Kartel, because with her losing the case, and rather matter advising the trial judge at the time with Vybz Kartel to continue, whilst having a juror which had compromised and biased the judicial process, it compromised the case. So 11 years later, the case comes back. It goes to the Supreme Court of Jamaica, the Court of Privy Council, which is the highest court, and they've had to squash the matter just because of your ill advice. It shows that, the advice given by the DPP was not the best or the sharpest, and this has come back to haunt former DPP Paula Llewelyn. And so when the Prime Minister is looking at this, the Prime Minister is probably thinking, this lady is dead weight. This lady didn't provide really good results. This lady wasted a lot of money and resources. And to top it off, before she vacated the post, she said, oh, we're going to seek retrial. So the judge said, okay, the time frame for evidence to be submitted is in respectively May and June, but don't quote me on that. But I think based on all the different series of decisions that have been made, if DPP Paula Llewelyn KC had won the Vybz Kartel case, then we would have said, okay, you deserve another extension, you deliver and whatever. But making so many mistakes, so many issues, to be combative and belligerent and all of that, it shows your time has come to an end. And so the new ADPP, which is the new acting director of public prosecution, is Claudette Thompson. Younger lady, vibrancy, energy. Let's see if she will be able to deliver compared to her predecessor, Paula Llewelyn KC. So that is one thing to note. But my main focus is that when it comes to the Constitution, it's not something that you change willy-nilly. It is supposed to be a serious decision. Now, mind you, while Paula Llewelyn KC was in the position of DPP, it is a constitutional role which, you know, should not be left vacant. But what also was indicative was that really, was there any succession planning by the Public Service Commission to say, okay, Paula Llewelyn Casey, you're reaching retirement age, have you looked for a successor? The image and impression that it left or it gave was that DPP Paula Llewelyn Casey would always be there. Now, what I also know is that when you've been in power too long, you become complacent. You don't think you have to move, and in certain instances, the person can come across as a dictator, which showcased with some of the reactions from some of the, you know, senior DPP colleagues that were in the office. And it was less than a year when DPP or former DPP Paula Llewelyn Casey had ruffled feathers or had gotten into an issue with another senior deputy director of public prosecutions. So in essence, the writing was on the wall. It was her time. It was her time to go. I don't see how, you know, her interest would be serving the prime minister when you're not delivering on results and you're not winning a case as controversial as Vybz Kartel. And then we will be seeking a retrial, and then you go on public radio and say, oh, you know, well, we've had cases before where, you know, matters had been perjured and we were continuing. This goes back to show when you do things in a shady way, it compromises not only the office of the day, but the judiciary as a whole, and the ability for people to believe that justice can be served. So the view is that the former DPP was no longer serving the interests of Jamaica and being objective and impartial in her role as the DPP. So while she may have said that, you know, she's unable to do the job at this time, and seeing that she is somebody that is silked, as in someone who has KC, it means that this is somebody that is a good lawyer. I think she was trying to see how far she could go without being caught, and wasn't expecting to be caught. But her day has come, her justice has been served. And so what the court had ruled, the constitutional court, constitutional administrative court had ruled that her tenure really after what one would say probably 2020 had been null and void. So then one has to question the decisions that DPP Paula Llewelyn Casey made. Do they still uphold that matter of the retrial? Still holds water? And so those are my opinions, my thoughts on it. As I said in the previous video, the writing would be on the wall for her to go, and as such, seeing that we're in an election year, or seeing that Jamaica is in an election year, the JLP is going to be looking to get as much points as it possibly can. And at this point, former DPP Paula Llewelyn Casey does not serve those political interests in really getting back in for the JLP, hence or probably why she's had to step away from her role. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you on the next video.
The phone from them straight to the brain.